Tonight, Simon Pegg travels the globe in Hector and the Search for Happiness.
Three Spaniards take the long and winding road in Living is Easy with Eyes Closed.
And Liam Neeson prowls the mean streets in A Walk Among the Tombstones. Hello.
Good evening.
Also tonight, Nicole Kidman trusts no one in the thriller Before I Go to Sleep.
Ewan McGregor provides protection with strings attached in Son of a Gun.
And tonight's classic is Bernardo Bertolucci's Last Tango in Paris. But first, David, let's go walking amongst those tombstones.
Well, in 1991, alcoholic cop Matt Scudder, Liam Neeson, left the force after a street shootout. 8 years later, he's working as a private eye and is approached by Pete Christo, Boyd Holbrook, on behalf of his drug trafficker brother Kenny, Dan Stevens. Kenny's wife has been kidnapped, and though he paid the ransom, she was returned cut up into small pieces. Kenny wants revenge. Occasionally assisted by street kid TJ, Brian Astro Bradley, an admirer of Sam Spade and Philip Marlowe, Matt discovers that the sick men who killed Kenny's wife are targeting the families of other drug traffickers.
But you used to be a cop, right?
Yeah.
So why'd you quit?
I didn't like the hours, Mr. Christo.
The corruption got to you, huh?
Not really. It would have been hard to support my family without it.
Well, this was really my brother's idea, you know, bringing you out here.
You want? I can leave.
Someone's kidnapped my wife.
When did this happen?
Yesterday.
You should be talking to the FBI.
I'm talking to you.
Look, Mr. Christo.
Kenny.
Kenny, if you're asking me to run a bag, deliver money, that is not something I do.
I already paid them.
When?
Last night.
And your wife, where is she?
She's dead. I paid them, but they killed her anyway.
Based on a book by Lawrence Block, this is the second feature directed by Scott Frank, whose screenplays have included some excellent films, among them Little Man Tate, Get Shorty, Out of Sight and Minority Report. The new film, with its evocative title and dogged central performance from Liam Neeson, has a sour feel to it because of its extreme attitude towards women. Women characters are few and far between, and those that are involved in the plot are either beaten, terrorised, abducted, raped or dismembered. In the book, I believe, Matt was given a love interest, but she's not around in the movie, which is sickeningly, unnecessarily violent, to the point that what might have been a serviceable thriller is doomed by its inherent nastiness. The creepy killers, played by David Harbour and Adam David Thompson, are an unusually unconvincing pair, though not as unconvincing as the final image of the New York skyline with the World Trade Center towers in place. And it's odd to find a movie in which drug traffickers are, if not exactly good guys, at least sympathetic victims of crimes that are even worse. Margaret.
David, I'm a little bit ashamed to say that I quite enjoyed this.
Oh, okay.
And,
you know,
what you've done with this screenplay is set up these horrendous crimes, which are not explicitly shown on screen.
That's enough for me, though.
But, I mean, you know what has happened, and the implication is there that it's pretty horrible, and these two are really quite boring, sadistic people. But I love Liam Neeson's presence, and there's a sardonic weight to him. You know, I love that line about I couldn't have supported my family without graft and corruption in the police force. You know, that sort of counterweight. He doesn't carry a gun. You know, he travels on buses and trains. He's a public transport private detective.
Yeah.
So, there's something about the weight of him on screen that I
Well, he's carved out a whole new
to.
career in this sort of film.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, look, I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
I was a bit disappointed. I'm giving it 2.5.
Jonas. You caught me. You gave the cops a different address, didn't you? That's why they never put you across the street from Layla.
This is my mother's building. I live in Sunset Park, but I'm not allowed to keep my birds there, even though there's room on the roof.
Your mom home right now? Maybe we can go down and talk, have a cup of coffee.
I can't let you leave here. He'll kill me if I do.
Who's they, Jonas?
The other two.
So what? You gonna stab me now with that big knife?
He's so cool. A Walk Among the Tombstones opens nationally this week. Simon Pegg stars as the eponymous hero in Hector and the Search for Happiness. He's a psychiatrist in London who can barely stay awake while listening to his patients. He's tuned out and turned off. His relationship with live-in girlfriend Clara, Rosamund Pike, is similarly sterile. On the advice of one of his patients, he decides to cut and run, to explore the world, to try to find out about happiness. First stop is Shanghai, where he's squired around by chance acquaintance, rich banker Edward, Stellan Skarsgård. Hector takes notes every time he feels he's learned something from people, like a Tibetan monk, Togo Igawa, and from an old flame, LA-based Agnes, Tony Collette.
These are not the emotions of a grown man.
Tell me about it.
I was going to have to dig a lot deeper.
There is no deeper.
I must admit, I'm a little baffled.
Hi, this is Hector. I think I can go deeper.
We'll have the mic on.
I think I know where to go.
Courage, Hector. We're right there with you.
Hector and the Search for Happiness was co-written and directed by Peter Chelsom, who began his career with such off-the-wall delights as Funny Bones and Hear My Song in the early 90s, with not such great success since. The film's based on a book by French author François Lelord. I was reluctant at first to get on board with Hector in his pursuit of happiness, but somehow this picaresque journey is done with such a light touch, despite the fact that it's plastered with truisms, that I went with it. Some people have reacted against the stereotyping of cities, countries, continents, but there is something in the ingenuousness of Hector and in Simon Pegg's portrayal that belies this. I found the film enormously likeable, with solid performances from a grand array of actors. David.
I agree with you. I think Simon Pegg really lends this material, which could, in other hands, have not worked.
Oh, it could be cloying and really awful.
Think of Eat, Pray, Love, which has a similar sort of journey. And this is so much better than that. And I found each of his stops in Shanghai, in Africa, in India, and finally in Los Angeles, people with interesting characters. I think Tony Collette makes an awful lot out of a very small part.
So does Rosamund Pike.
And Christopher Plummer as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because this is not although it looks like a big studio picture, in fact it's a low-budget German-Canadian co-production. I mean, not low budget, but it's an independent picture. And I think it's really interesting. And I must say I found it very enjoyable.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah,
I thought you wouldn't.
No, I liked it.
So, well, I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
Me too, 3.5.
How many of us, I wonder, can recall that childhood moment when we experienced happiness as a state of being, that single moment of untarnished joy, that moment when everything in our world, inside and out, was all right. Everything was all right. It's only when we are otherwise engaged, focused, absorbed, inspired, communicating, discovering, learning, dancing, for heaven's sake, that we experience happiness as a byproduct, a side effect. Oh no, we should concern ourselves not so much with the pursuit of happiness, but with the happiness of pursuit.
Christopher Plummer there is very good. Hector and the Search for Happiness opens around the country in limited release next week. Our next film is Son of a Gun. J.R. Brenton Thwaites has been given a short sentence in a Perth prison for an unspecified crime. In the nick, he's befriended by Brendan, Ewan McGregor, and when he's released, he connects with master criminal Sam, Jacek Koman, in a daring plot to spring Brendan and a couple of others by chopper. Soon, the men are involved in robbing a gold refinery in Kalgoorlie, but thieves inevitably fall out. Writer-director Julius Avery's film is a competent attempt at a Hollywood-style thriller. The trouble is that what seems possible when set in the US seems wildly improbable when set in West Australia. The escape from the prison by chopper is one such scene, but there are others that follow. Somehow it just doesn't convince, and it doesn't help that we're not allowed to know anything at all about our hero, apart from the fact that his father once hit him. It's not easy to empathise with a blank page. Matters are compounded by the fact that the characters are uniformly unlikable, and that includes Tasha, Alicia Vikander, the girl who becomes involved with JR. As I said, the film is competent. It's mostly well shot once the wobbly cam in prison is left behind, and the action scenes are impressively staged. But the characters are not so much one-dimensional as non-dimensional. Margaret?
I don't think you get it, David.
Maybe not.
No, because you see, I think this film, he makes his mark in prison because he's pretty good at chess. And I think that chess analogy sort of goes through the film and, you know, is beautifully resolved at the end, actually.
Go on.
I thought Brenton Thwaites, I thought, wow, here's a great talent on screen. I hadn't seen him before, he hadn't registered before, and I think he's terrific in this, and I think Ewan McGregor is always solid. It's a caper, and I mind that you say, you know, you can see this sort of thing in an American film, but you can't see it in an Australian film.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying,
you did say that.
No, I didn't say that. I said what looks convincing when it's set in America, it didn't convince me in this. I can't... Look,
what's wrong with Western Australia?
These guys escape from prison in this amazing escape with a helicopter, with guns blazing, all sorts of things. Wait a minute. And in the next scene, I mean, in succeeding scenes, they're wandering around Perth. There's no policeman in sight. I mean, there'd be a huge manhunt.
That's a very law-abiding city, normally.
Oh, come on. I just didn't believe it.
Well, I went along with it, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought there was new talent here, and I'm giving it 3.5 stars.
I'm giving it 2.5.
Did you have a good night last night, did you?
We ate dumplings.
Ate dumplings, and what else did you do?
Just dumplings. I told you nothing happened.
Yeah, I know. If it had, Sam would have made you both shark food by now.
Is that it?
Now, listen to me. You listen very carefully, right? You do not bend the rules for a piece of skirt.
Now, you stop thinking with your bloody dick and get with the programme.
Son of a Gun opens nationally this week. After the recent Railway Man, Nicole Kidman teams up once again with Colin Firth for the thriller Before I Go to Sleep, in which we enter into the lost world of a woman who is suffering from anterograde amnesia. Christine Kidman wakes up every morning with her mind wiped clean of her past. She has to be coached about her immediate circumstances by her patient and loving husband, Ben Firth. Unbeknownst to Ben, Christine has been seeing a neuropsychologist, Dr. Nash, Mark Strong, who has encouraged her to keep a video diary of her days, to which she can refer to help build some semblance of her life. But gradually she discovers that what she records and what she's being told doesn't always add up.
My name is Christine Lucas. I'm 40 years old, and I'm an amnesiac. Tonight, as I sleep, my mind will erase everything I know, everything I did today, and I will wake up tomorrow. Then the truth is, half my life is over. And oh shit, he's coming.
Christine.
Based on a best-selling book by S.J. Watson and as directed by Rowan Joffe, this film was always going to suffer from the slightly ludicrous nature of the plot. But however silly the denouement might be, the journey there is quite intriguing. Nicole Kidman is no stranger to playing damsels in distress, but she had stronger material with The Others and Birth, in which she gave 2 terrific performances. Colin Firth seems a bit stranded in this, although he does bring a strangely unsettling tone to the whole. Rowan Joffe, whose previous feature film was the, to me, unimpressive Brighton Rock, has brought little flair to his direction of this. People are calling it sub-Hitchcockian, but I think it falls way below that, David.
You've read the book. I mean, was the
I
book...
read the book after I saw the film.
Was the book as silly as the film?
Yeah, yep. Well, the denouement is. I mean, it's intriguing to start.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always that third act that's hard to resolve.
I mean, I wonder why the book was such a bestseller. Because the film struck me as being really rather daft. I mean, it's again one of these things that's just not very convincing. Do you think this? I mean, Memento aside, do you think this kind of amnesia actually exists, or is it just the concept of bad fiction?
No, I believed it.
Okay.
I believe she wakes up every morning, she can't remember anything from when she was much younger.
I think Nicole Kidman actually does a good job with some pretty difficult material here. I mean, I think she's often overcomes the obstacles in the character. But I agree with you about Colin Firth. I think he's sort of marking time a bit with this.
But I mean, Rowan Joffe, you know, he's related to Roland, isn't he?
It's the son.
And he's sort of like so mediocre.
Yeah.
I really want to hit him after Brighton Rock, because that's such a great. And the early film was so great, and that was so mediocre.
No, it's not very distinguished.
No. Look, I like 2/3 of it. I'm giving it 3 stars.
I like less. I'm giving it 2.5.
Just down here. That's where I found you.
Would you describe exactly what you saw?
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Well, just tell us what you remember.
I just come off shift. Miss Lucas was naked.
Naked?
Apart from a sheet.
A bed sheet or a plastic sheet?
I'd have said if it was plastic.
Where did I come from?
You couldn't remember. You were very confused. There was blood.
My blood? Where?
Everywhere.
Before I Go to Sleep opens around the country this week. Now to Living is Easy with Eyes Closed. In 1966, Antonio Javier Camara, who teaches English at a school in a small town in La Mancha, is obsessed with the Beatles, to the point that he has his class recite the lyrics from Help in English. When he learns that John Lennon is making a Richard Lester film, How I Won the War, in Almeria, in the south of the country, he decides to go there to try to meet him. Along the way, he picks up a couple of runaways. 3 months pregnant Belén, Natalia de Molina, who has left a home for unmarried mothers, and Juanjo, Frances Colomer, who was left home after a fight with his policeman father over his long hair.
En realidad este viaje luego por los Beatles.
Va a conocer a Lennon.
¿En serio? Sí. Voy a hablar con él. Nah, un ratejo.
Está en Almería rodando.
Sí. En realidad voy a reñirle.
Pero te dejarán verle. Lo tendrán muy protegido.
¿Y qué harías tú con todas las histéricas esas si se quitan hasta la ropa interior y se la tiran en el escenario? Debe ser horrible, ¿no? Salir a cantar y ver a todas esas locas gritando.
Es lo que buscan, ¿no?
Hombre, no, yo te aseguro que no es lo que Lennon busca, ¿eh? Mira, en el concierto de España dijo que lo que más le molestó fue ver los mejores asientos ocupados por enchufados y gente del gobierno. Y fuera la policía dando de palos a los chicos a la puerta de las ventas.
Mi padre estuvo.
¿Ah, sí?
Dando porrazos. Es gris.
This terrifically enjoyable film takes its title from the lyrics for Strawberry Fields Forever, a song John Lennon wrote while he was filming in Spain. It's a comedy, but a comedy with a dark edge that reminds us how life was in Spain back then under the despotic Franco regime, and how casual violence perpetrated by authority figures on the weak was the order of the day. The ever-optimistic Antonio is not to be deterred from his mission, while at the same time giving support and friendship to his 2 young companions, both of whom go through life-changing experiences. Javier Camara, so memorable as the nurse in Almodovar's Talk to Her, actually looks a bit like Phil Silvers. Film buffs can work out the link between Phil Silvers, Richard Lester and Spain. Margaret.
I thought this film was an absolute delight. I think Javier Camara is just wonderful.
He's a great actor, isn't
But
he?
it's a gorgeous creation.
Yeah.
But it's actually based on a true story
It is, yes,
about
that's
this
right. Yeah.
English professor who went to meet up with
John Lennon.
It's such a bizarre story.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's set against the background of Franco's Spain, but it's also set against the regional differences between the North and the South, because they can't understand the language, the accent of these Southerners. I mean, there are some very funny scenes there. It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous.
It's a lovely film. Yeah. I liked it so much, and all the characters are so well drawn, and the pacing is good.
Yeah.
It's a terrific film. What are you giving it?
I'm giving it 4 stars.
Me too, 4 stars.
Ese es el Rose que me dijeron. ¡John! ¡John! ¡Mr. Lennon! ¡John!
Bájese de ahí, hombre, que está haciendo el ridículo, hombre. Bájese de ahí.
¡Lennon!
Mire, como no se calle, le voy a tener que denunciar y tomar la matrícula, ¿eh?
Ya me bajo, hombre, ya me voy.
Sí, hombre, estoy
Vamos, que no veo yo que es tan complicado.
Que no. He dicho que se vaya de aquí. Que se vaya.
It's gorgeous. Living is Easy with Eyes Closed opens in limited national release next week. Bernardo Bertolucci's 1972 film Last Tango in Paris is a classic. A controversial one, I know, but nevertheless, it is in this period that you find this filmmaker at the height of his powers. It dared to tread where no film had ever gone before by delving into a semi-sadomasochistic relationship which involved anal sex and which portrayed the female body in all its glory, and I mean all. It is also verbally provocative and explicit. Bertolucci created the film out of his own sexual fantasies of having sex with a nameless girl that he'd just met on the street. It is extraordinarily beautiful to look at, shot by Vittorio Storaro, who had a couple of years earlier made The Conformist with Bertolucci. They were inspired by the paintings of Francis Bacon, and the colours in the film are a reflection of that artist's work. But actually what makes this film so powerful is the searing emotion that underscores it. Brando plays Paul, whose wife has just committed suicide. He meets Jeanne when they both go to inspect a vacant apartment. They have anonymous sex. He doesn't want to know her name or anything about her. She's played by Maria Schneider.
So you want to cut me up?
No. That would be like writing my name on your face.
Like they do to slaves?
Slaves are branded on the ass, and I want you free.
Free? I'm not free. You want to know why you don't want to know anything about me? Because you hate women.
Oh, really?
What they have ever done to you?
Well, either they always pretend to know who I am, or they pretend that I don't know who they are, and that's very boring.
I'm not afraid to say who I am. I'm 20 years old.
No! Jesus Christ, where's your brain? Stop das jetzt, Heilsmaul Schweinehund. Shut up. You get it? I know it's tough, but you're gonna have to bear it.
It's a strange film in many ways, as it cuts between her life outside with filmmaker boyfriend Tom, Jean-Pierre Léaud, and his time in the hotel which was owned by his wife. There are extraordinary scenes with him and his mother-in-law, with him and his wife's lover, played by Massimo Girotti, both of them in the identical dressing gowns that she'd given them. Brando refused to learn lines, so Bertolucci had to place cue cards all over the set, and you can actually see Brando referring to them once you know. The film caused an enormous stir. It was embraced by critics such as Pauline Kael in a very famous review and condemned by others. It was banned in some countries and cut in others, but here, thanks to the newly established R18+, it was released in its full version.
Yes, that was one of the films that would not have been released here at all
No.
had it not been for the R.
I mean, it's still very provocative.
Yeah, it is indeed. I looked up my original notes and I wrote that it was, outside a porno film, it was by far the most explicit film that we had seen in cinemas, and it's still pretty extraordinary. One of the things I really like about it is Bertolucci was such a film literate director, and this is filled with interesting references. Like when Paul's life is described, he was a boxer, he was in Mexico in sort of revolutionary things, he was in Tahiti. It's describing Marlon Brando's filmography.
And when he talks about his early life,
it's
that's Brando's early story.
And on the other hand, her filmmaker boyfriend, played by Jean-Pierre Léaud, who's Truffaut's muse, I guess, he represents the French New Wave, that other side of cinema. And of course, the ballroom scene is surely referencing The Conformist, and that wonderful scene where Dominic Sanda and Stefania Sandrelli dance the tango.
Yeah. Oh God, isn't that a fantastic scene?
It's a wonderful scene. Yeah.
And this is very different. It's so heartbreaking in a lot of ways. Here's the tango scene.
Well, I don't want to butter you up, Margaret, but that was a great choice.
David, that's cutting it a bit fine. Next week's classic is Stanley Kubrick's Spartacus.
And that's the show for tonight. Good night from us.
Good night.